Okay, hello everybody. For any of you who are new here, I'm Shlomo and I'm the CEO of China Business Webinars and eBusiness Chinese. I'm happy to see some virtual new faces here and glad to open an additional webinar of China Business Webinars. Um, Actually, this China Business Webinars come to bring a platform for knowledge transfer between executive and individuals who seek and are interested in doing business in China. And I'm actually very excited because today is the first time we're actually broadcasting from China, so it's very exciting. Uh, the down part of that is that sometimes there are network problems here, so I apologize for that in advance. And if we disconnect or something, just reconnect again. We'll begin Michelle's presentation in a minute, but before that, I'd like to say that if you're a company or organization um, would like to sponsor a webinar and have his services presented right just now here before the beginning of the presentation, and immediately afterwards, just contact me on that through the website or email. I also invite you after the webinar to go to our website and look at our members subscription. Additional benefits for various services for people who do business in China are also exclusively available for the members. LaVallee is our guest speaker for today, and I'm really excited to have her here. She'll be talking about the job market in China and about talent management in China. And I really encourage you, I'll let Michelle speak right now, and I'm really pleased to host her now today. And I'll just let her introduce herself. I really encourage you to ask questions during the webinar. I'll be monitoring the session, so I see your questions, so just type them in the chat window, and I'll read them out loud for Michelle. So Michelle, the stage is yours. I'm just going to put you on, going to make you a presenter, and we can begin.
Thank you very much, Shlomo. It's a pleasure to be here, and welcome to all of our attendees, wherever you may be around the world. Happy New Year, both the Western New Year and the Chinese upcoming New Year. It's a very exciting year for all of us. As Shlomo turns over the slides, I'll be presenting a number of points today on talent management in China. I'll just give the webinar a second to catch up so that you can see my slides. 1 second, please.
Michelle, you're a presenter
and
now.
We're showing my screen now. Thank you, Shlomo. And as Shlomo mentioned, when we go through the webinar today, you have chat services there at your fingertips, so please be sure to raise any questions that you may have. And Shlomo will stop me along the way to share those questions for everyone to discuss. The focus of our program today is on the talent management challenge in China, and what are some pointers that we can all use to overcome it. I'll take a moment to say that I've been specializing in bridging a gap between what I see as an executive and middle management knowledge gap or experience gap in China. And I have a lot of fun and a great deal of passion for bridging that gap, especially when implementing Fortune 500 best practices. So feel free to take down my email address. You can see it there on the screen. And if you have questions after the webinar, feel free to let us know. I've been in China and Asia for 15 years. Previously, I was with the Microsoft Corporation from 97 through 2005, and I helped set up the first global technical support center in Shanghai and went on to lead the support services expansion across Asia and around the world, so that was an incredible experience. And having been in such a large enterprise for so many years, I was keen to take that experience and implement best practices in a more entrepreneurial environment. So 5 years after Microsoft, I was COO at the Blue Horizon Hospitality Group in China, and again had a great time working with young professionals there and growing the business with very young managers and watching their abilities scale up as we taught them how to implement best practices. And it was because of that move from a large enterprise to a smaller organization that I really began to see this opportunity to teach younger professionals in China how to develop into best-in-class managers or leaders. That led me to create the company that I'm leading today, Management Success China, and focus on that opportunity to develop managers in China. I think that, as we'll talk about today, there's a real opportunity to look long-term, find talent in your organization, and develop them over the years. One of the things that I'm also a big fan of is top grading. I'm a certified top grading affiliate, and some of the points that we will talk about today are directly from top grading, which is created and launched by Brad Smart. Before I go any further, I'd like to understand a little bit more about our audience, if I may. I'd appreciate, Shlomo, if we could run a quick poll that asks our audience a bit about their business in China.
Sure. Okay, I will launch that.
What we're going to be asking here is how many of you all have business in China today, or are thinking about doing business in China? We'll take just a quick poll.
Okay, you've got the poll on the screen now. Please vote. Okay, people are voting. Thank you for that, everybody.
And Shlomo will share those results with us after it's great.
Yeah. Okay, a few more seconds and we'll close the poll. Please vote. Okay, I'm closing the poll. And here are the results. No people have business in China. That's 0%. And then 20% of the people are actually planning to start a business in China. 80% of our attendees are have 0 to 500 employees in China, and the two other answers for 500 to 2,000 employees is 0, and also the fifth one. More than 2,000 employees, we have no candidates for that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Shlomo.
Okay, I'm hiding the poll, and you'll see the presentation again. There you go.
So thank you for taking time to do that. That's a very interesting breakdown of the group. So 80% are out there in China today with 0 to 500 employees. Very sizable number, and a lot of great opportunity in that space. And then for our audience that is thinking about doing business in China, well, I hope that today you'll have more confidence to get into the market and you'll have a better understanding of how to approach your startup. The current market status in China, and it's actually been this way for several years, it's incredibly aggressive. For those doing business there already, especially in small to medium-sized businesses, there's a huge competition for growth. And as relates to talent management specifically, there's a demand for talent that by far outweighs the available talent on the ground. Leadership and management skills are shockingly scarce, and you have headhunters and recruiters contacting your top talent all the time, trying to bring them away from the company. But China remains just a place a market that's full of opportunity, and with the right approach, regardless of industry or size, you can be very successful there. One just has to be aware of the competition, especially as relates to talent, and put in place some ways in which to embrace your top talent, and take care of them for the long term. When we think about the talent management challenge in China specifically, as I've said, across all industries, regardless of size or location, there's a real struggle to achieve goals given the lack of quality management. Now, this is not to say that there aren't incredible talents there. One of the reasons that I've enjoyed working in China and Asia for so many years is that there's an incredible work ethic and eagerness to do great things. There's an incredible amount of ambition and vision and drive. And so it's not to say the talent is not there. As you know, it's actually to say that the talent in management is still very young. For a number of cultural and historical reasons, the country is still catching up to be able to supply the demand for managers in the market. Employee and management turnover is very high. It's something that we're all facing day in and day out. And again, some of the pointers that we'll cover today will help address this issue. And finally, what I find in my practices is that two things happen consistently. One, executives are overloaded and they're stretched. They're trying to drive best practices, but due to that gap in experience between executives and managers, there's a real burden placed on executives to drive implementation of strategy and best practice. The other trend that we come up against time and time again is that many companies have fantastic talent in their group but don't have a way to find them or identify them. And as you grow from that 0 to 500 range on up to 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, it becomes increasingly important to be able to identify your talent, take great care of them, and also to assess those folks in the team that are struggling and how to help them get into a job that's going to ensure they're a high performer. So when we think about a successful approach in China to talent management or business strategy in general, when you're thinking about those challenges of high competition, aggressive growth, opportunity everywhere, and a scarcity of leadership, the number one piece of advice I've got for everybody, and I think this makes sense, is to be patient. Take a real long-term vision towards your strategy there. Don't let yourself get caught up in, oh my gosh, I've got to find somebody right now, you know, what are we going to do? And I've seen so many executives and leaders get caught up in that aggression and that competition, and it really is not necessary. With patience and a respect for Chinese culture, through adaptation of your development programs, you can relax and focus on the long term. Get the right systems in place to help develop your talent. Another key point is showing sincere interest in learning.
Michelle, I've got a question, please.
Sure, go ahead, Shlomo.
And actually, it's my question. And my question for you is, you just said that you really should calm down when when you need to hire someone, just take the time. Sometimes this thing is really impossible. You've got like sales teams, you've got to show results, customers are coming, you can't handle them, you need more people, you need more staff. Sometimes you just can't have it. What do you do in this case?
Great question, Shlomo. Thank you. So where's the balance? And the balance is really in developing a proper assessment program and teaching your hiring managers how to assess the right people. It's not to say that you can't grow quickly or you can't hire quickly. You can, but you must have a solid approach to assessing talent and not rushing into just getting hands and feet on board. That kind of desperate and urgent hiring, 75% of the time, is going to lead you to hiring the wrong person. So what we will be talking about today is how to take a step back, build some very simple tools around assessing talent, and then you can speed up in your hiring programs.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Let's go on to some of the most common hiring mistakes. Now these can be said around the world. These also come very in common and hand in hand with the top grading messages and principles as well. But these 5 points in particular are very specific to China. The first most common hiring mistake is basing a decision on resume content or short behavioral-based hypothetical interviews. Now in China specifically, the resumes that you're going to see, that we all see out there, some of them are out of this world. And there's a quote, I forget who brought it up, but basically the closest we come to perfection for ourselves is on a resume. So those resumes that we're seeing in China, you have to be very careful with them. Quite frankly, a great majority of them are simply not true.